There could be a potential purge at the FBI in the next few hours. Acting leadership faces the deadline of noon Eastern to hand over the names of agents.
The source who spoke to us on the condition of anonymity said this includes agents and support personnel. Agents fear this list has been created for possible terminations or other types of retribution. FBI personnel in Utah, Idaho, and Montana are all managed out of what the Bureau calls the Salt Lake City field office. A few hundred FBI employees are thought to work in those 3 states. So 50 employees is a big chunk.
Hey, I like the shirt.
We are into it. First of all, we are going to end all sanctuary cities.
Governor Cox also cites a memo that Bernanke's office issued a memo calling Utah a sanctuary state.
Welcome back to Live at Noon. It is 12:31. A new report posted by our content sharing partners at the Salt Lake Tribune in collaboration with ProPublica says Utah makes welfare so hard to get, some feel that they have to join or in some ways participate in activities of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in order to get aid.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. I see Mr. Camera Freeze started his shift this morning. So we'll see if we can bypass him. Helaman 7 through 9 is a story of Nephi, who would be made the Christ by the Christ, talking about the records of the Christ, and the fulfillment prophecies of the Christ. But in order to understand that, you have to know the learning of the Jews. And so in verse 10, Nephi was doing a YouTube channel videos from his home, and people were coming to his channel, to one video, complaining about how he was condemning them for their wickedness. You can't judge us. We've done nothing wrong. You're a pretended prophet. We're not going to judge you by your fruit. Because our leader has titles, and therefore we judge titles. How well do you know your scriptures again? How well? And so he compares himself to Moses as he talks about the brazen serpent. All you had to do was watch his videos and you would be healed. And you're not going to watch his videos to see the brazen serpent and be healed like Moses with the people of the house of Israel. And so, because of their hatred towards him, exposing them of their wickedness and their rejecting the truth and rebellion against the Jewish God, and choosing to try to become rich and thus being corrupt to pursue wealth, because you gotta steal, cheat, lie, murder, rape in order to become wealthy. So Nephi then says, I know who done it. Murder mystery. Chief judge got murdered, and the servants were the ones that were framed and blamed and locked up in prison. Instead, Nephi says that Scientum is the murderer. And so they're instead accusing Nephi of being involved as the puppet master of the servants to have the chief judge murdered. So instead, Nephi says to go to his brother. Or go to the Caesorum is the, okay. Caesorum is the murderer. And so he tells the people, go to the house of Scientum, who is the brother of Caesorum, and say unto him, has Nephi, the pretended prophet, who doth prophesy so much evil concerning this people, agreed with thee, in the which ye have murdered Caesorum, who is your brother. Oh, okay, so, Caesorum is the chief judge. Okay, it would kind of help if I would actually read over this first rather than trusting my associative memory. And Scientum is the murderer, murdered his brother. Okay. And behold, he will say unto you, nay. See how this was worded? Has Nephi agreed with you? And so he doesn't want to be affiliated with the murder of his brother. And so he says no. And then you shall ask him after he says no, have you murdered your brother? And he'll stand with fear, doesn't know what to say. Caitlin Beckett gets another one at the final 5 minutes of the video. And so, yeah, he murdered the chief judge of the land. And as we would come to find out in 3 Nephi chapter 7, it is the secret band of Gadianton that are the puppet masters pulling the strings of hiring people to be assassins, hiring people to be put into positions of power so that they can change the laws of the land to allow the Gadianton robbers to do their thing. So yeah, on an episode of Caitlin Beckett, we'll just change the show from Castle to Caitlin Beckett. We have a an underground storyline of Caitlin's mother being murdered when she was a teenage girl. And she eventually would find out in the show that a guy who's now senator had murdered her mother. And she's not able to therefore get justice because he's senator now. The secret band of Gadianton in the show had him murder her mother and then promoted him to become a senator. And so he makes the comment in the show, as she's now forced to save his life from the secret band of Gadianton, who is unhappy with him not obeying them and trying to murder him. He says the kingmakers are not happy with him for disobeying. That's why he was being targeted for assassination. And so he was able to use Caitlin Beckett, saving his life, to expose one of the token guys trying to have him murdered for not obeying them. And so thus he's propelling himself to become president now. I've gone over this with you all these years, Mormons, trying to warn you, going over the Book of Mormon, as well as Nephi could not be proven wrong using the Book of Mormon on the people to call them out as wicked, because they aren't following the Book of Mormon. If you're not following the precepts of the Book of Mormon, you are not following the Book of Mormon. You don't believe the Book of Mormon is true if you don't follow the precepts of the Book of Mormon. Real simple thing. You can't just outwardly profess the Book of Mormon is true and then go and say, commit polygamy, violate priestcraft, violate with priestcraft, etc., etc. You can't condemn the righteous who are calling you out for your wickedness. You have to follow the Book of Mormon in order for you to demonstrate the fruits that you believe the Book of Mormon is true. You won't do it. It's sad, because there's a whole bunch of cool stuff in here that if you caught on, this is a Trump Eyes 2025 video. The new daily segment for Mormons who resist and are unhappy with me. Yeah, Trump is merely the senator in the show of Caitlin Beckett. There are puppet masters over him, and I have planned to, oh, whoops, I forgot to do that. I need to make sure I do this. A prerequisite video on this, exposing this secret band of Gadianton. Yesterday I started a new playlist of prerequisites and started with all of the forged documents of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And what I thought was strange is that for all these years, there is a consistent thumbs downer who stalks me. And I have kind of wondered, do they watch my videos, or do they hate me so much, refusing to be healed by looking at the brazen serpent, that they just see that a new video has been posted, they have to subscribe to me in order to be notified of the new video I did, and then click on it, because you have to click on it, you have to be signed in to be notified of my latest videos, and then put a thumbs down. Now the question I had was, do they stick around or do they just bail after putting a thumbs down? And it seems like yesterday I may have gotten my answer, but I'll have to check again this morning. The 2 prerequisite videos don't have a thumbs down at the end of the day when I checked again. However, the last video I did has the token 1 thumbs down. We are seeing a discrepancy here, an anomaly. This may confirm that the person only comes to a video and then leaves. Maybe he was uncomfortable about being exposed with the forgeries. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I don't get it. Doesn't make sense. Anyway. And so, I will plan on doing a secret combination connection with the documents linking this criminal operation as the puppet masters of Trump, as I've been going over with you. Because there are too many people who come to one video and they don't know the prerequisite knowledge that I've shared in over 8.4K videos now. You missed that video, ANWMS-H7F. Earlier the other day, I surpassed 8.4K now. And so there are basic facts that I go off of in my videos. I can't repeat the information over and over again in every single video. And Mormons think they've got me by coming to a video that doesn't have the repeated information, even if it has a repeated information on a picture meme to remind my audience. They ignore it. And they, try to claim, prove it! Church is true! I bear feelings that it's true. Dumbasses all. Dumbasses all. And so even they'll get people who try to turn me into the other, by which they can then justify judging me unrighteously, ignoring Matthew chapter 7 on how to judge righteously, by fruits, not by name calling. And so on my Groundhog Day video, which now that Groundhog Day is come and gone, YouTube is allowing people to see it. You have Brandon Burton, who does the stupid question, and you've probably heard teachers tell their students that there is no stupid question. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And he asks, I'm curious, do you believe in God? And so this is a real stupid question to ask. Because my content of the video goes over the Book of Mormon, goes over Joseph Smith as Jewish. Jewish is a religion. And for somebody to say such a dumbass comment, hint, hint, is abusive. mean, dear God. You know, if it's not the church's beliefs, then you're a heathen, godless person. And so, yeah, it's just abominable that people think that they can get somebody else and accuse them unrighteously, refusing to believe the Bible even, and the precepts of the Bible, because that's what it means. People who say, you can't judge me, are Bible denialists. They are the ones who deny God. They outwardly profess the Bible to be true, and they don't even bother to follow it. You have to follow the Bible in order to make the claims. But in making the claims, you show that you don't follow the Bible. You have no clue what it says. You have no clue how to understand it. And that makes you stupid, illiterate. Alright, so yeah, another prerequisite video that I've had in the pile that I can use as a prerequisite video before I came up with prerequisite video playlists is on all of the numerous crimes in section 110. The whole thing is criminal. Not a single thing in there is good, just, and true. It's all criminal. And so if you remember, having watched me for long enough, that I have the little notebook for YouTube video references, because I don't memorize. I have that, the whole long listing. And so that's a prerequisite video. That reference booklet is a prerequisite video, so I can pull that out and we can do those videos for the prerequisite video playlist now. Thanks to Nelson for failing extending this out into this year. So let's get it on with what's going on. Going on. So Nephi is the Christ figure. Talking about a man like Moses. He is the man like Moses. He's trying to let the people know, and they don't catch on. You know, they see the symbols, and they're stupid. They don't have a clue. They talk about likening the scriptures unto themselves, and they have no clue how to liken the scriptures unto themselves. To see, you know, a bed in the background wearing a white shirt rather than the green one today. Seeing the sign of the Jewish Christ, seeing the man like Moses serpent staff, seeing baby Yoda who's got the metachlorian high count of the Spirit. And going over the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith is Jewish. Mormons are just clueless, and it's sad and pathetic that the church has brainwashed them to such a high degree that they're just zombie creatures of the apocalypse instead. And so, as of the end of 2023, getting into this apartment, and Nelson failing, I have come out of the closet, not as trans. Hey, I tied it into Trump Heist 2025 in the news report we're given today. But as the man like Moses. And Mormons are clueless, because the prerequisite video knowledge that I should also do for you is from section 107, verses 91 and 92. Joseph Smith is your Jewish Christ. Jewish Christ. And I have had too many stupid Mormons ask the stupid question about having a Messiah complex and needing psychological torture to help me with my problem. Bleep you all. psychologists are evil. Psychologists are the ones who set up LGBTQIAPO+. I've done the videos. I saw the episode of Star Trek New Generations that began that movement. I am inspired to watch what I watch, even though it's through associative memory. My associative memory inspires me to watch certain shows. And in the course of watching certain shows, sure enough, just like last night, yesterday, we have another episode that tied in to the Book of Mormon with what's currently going on right now. You really need to pay attention. There is higher level learning in my videos. Oh crap. Can't you just give a one sentence statement meme in a short video, Travis? With cool music in the background. Get rid of all this crap. Get an expensive camera that deletes the background noise. Bleep you all. Psychologists came from Nazi Germany. They were given asylum in America, and the CIA put them to work for them to figure out how to brainwash the masses. So you got your MK Ultra that's been released and some other human tortures of American citizens. The whole pretending to be space aliens, abductions, yeah, that was psychologists who were using that on the people. And so, oh man, I still get attacked. And they then did experiments with people going to the theaters, because that's what people used to do back then. There was no TV to watch movies yet. There was no videos, obviously, no DVDs, no streaming services. The theater was where you went, and they would have a news segment at the beginning. So during World War II, people would go to find out about the news on World War II by going to watch whatever movie was on during that time period. Was Gone with the Wind during that time period, or was that later? But regardless of what it was, whatever movies were showing and during the World War II, people would go to the theater to, and it was mostly women. The men were all dying in the war. And so the women were put to work in the factories. And so, yeah, I guess the women went to the movie theaters after work to find out about how the guy they had a crush on is now dead. They're going to have to be a spinster, single cat lady for the rest of their life. Leonardo DiCaprio sunk into the bottom of the ocean because you didn't want to share the board with him. I remember the news story about a teenage girl who went to the theater a record number of times because she just loved that movie. And so, yeah, I'm sure she never got a date. Because guys are going, you're okay with her letting Leonardo DiCaprio die? I'm busy. I don't know when I won't be busy. I'll call you. tell you. See, the guys are conflicted because of the art scene in there. And so, we get the acid trips and the LSDs and other drugs that are being used on the American populace by these psychologists, and thus the emergence of what we now know as Big Pharma, making drugs to use as human experimentations. And through psychologists, by the way. Because medical doctors are not allowed to perform human experimentations on American citizens. They have a Hippocratic oath to do no harm. Psychologists don't. That's why psychologists are being used for this criminal, inhumane, evil practice that the Nazis were doing to the Jews. And so in the 80s, your R-rated movies, which is why the church didn't want you to watch R-rated movies, by the way, were mocking and humiliating psychologists. Die Hard, Terminator, Lethal Weapon are the top three back in those days. And there are most likely others that were more lesser quality movies that we would know them now as direct-to-DVD movies. But there were a lot of them. Sharon Stone, is that her name? With Basic Instinct. Yeah, that was a psychological movie in which psychology was being used to commit crimes. Fatal Attraction was another R-rated movie using psychology to commit crimes and scare men to death. I am never getting married ever again. What do you mean you're never again? And so during the 80s, psychologists were starting to make their move on manipulating the minds of the masses, putting out commercials in which they say, if your child has these list of symptoms, call us immediately. They could be depressed. They altered the word of depressed to make it a clinical diagnosis for psychology that needs drugs by Big Pharma. And so I am well aware of this as I watched lots of TV back in those days. And then it would disappear. Wouldn't see those commercials. They would lay low, lie in wait, and strike again. This time, if you see this list of behavioral characteristics in your child may be gay. Wait a minute, wasn't this for depression? Now it means they're gay? Psychology manipulates people with the fallacy argument of assuming that you can categorize human behavior. You can't. The source for the causation of a human's outward behavioral manifestation are too numerous. One behavioral outburst has numerous potential causations, but psychology will never look for the causation, because if they look for the causation, they'd know that they can't do anything about it, because there is no such thing as a mental retardation. it's either brain damage or it's some kind of experience in the environment that they had experienced, either through trauma or other situations. And as such, it's not in the brain. It was a cause that was external. And thus, psychology is complete and utter fraud. Because if it is brain damage, like a stroke, you need a medical doctor who will do no harm. And so this is what they were trying to do, is they were trying to get those who were in the closet to be narked on for their conversion therapy that had been going on in secret as one of the human tortures after being given asylum by the CIA. And even the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was involved since the 50s in this conversion therapy here in Utah. Utah's asylum, that's now called a hospital, to mock President Kennedy, who signed that act to do away with asylums in America. And then the CIA, who were filled with Mormon returned missionaries, murdered them. Trump released the documents. It's now out. Mormons murdered JFK. Working with George Poppy Bush, who got caught standing at that fateful corner on a photograph with his airline receipt coming into Dallas and his hotel receipt, having stayed there at that hotel. And then the infamous picture. And yet, the news isn't going over it. It's been released. Trump told us in advance who done it. And now it's released. Why isn't the news not covering it? Why is the news freaking out of what Trump said he was going to do, and he did it, and now everybody's freaking out? What is he doing? Oh my God, we never saw this coming. And wait, there's more with this commercials during the 80s. And so again, they lay low. My peers were still all in during the 80s, labeling everything as gay. Oh, you wear those kind of clothes, you're gay. You listen to those kind of music, you're gay. We had cliques of music groups back then. You had your metalheads and your preppy pop music people. You had your alternatives who would eventually become gay, which were called new wave back in those days. And your country, and we still had classical stuff, but you know, kids don't want to be associated with classical. And you had your Christian metal bands that were starting up to try to trick kids into joining Christianity. You know, to hell with the devil. You know, Stryper, good band. But you had the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints pulling the same stunt with Lex de Azevedo, and especially for youth, indoctrination camps. Which was a torture camp. I mean, my parents sent me there every single summer during my 80s, teen years, as they would do their genealogy tour with the family and dump me off because they knew I would just be trouble. So this was a great way to get rid of me for a period of time while they can get stuff done. And so we're there. We can't have co-ed dorm rooms. Not like on the mission where you can sleep in the same room, but just not in the same bed. They've got it set up for all of the activities to be in the presence with other women, other girls our age, for this, especially for youth. And it's torture for a guy because girls are so cute. And I Kissed a Girl had not come out yet. Katy Perry was our age, wasn't she? Or even younger. And so they have dances in the evenings. You have to have a Book of Mormon distance. And so if you get the larger print, it's thinner. Or a larger book size, keeping the same font thing. Anyway, joke ruined. And so, yeah, it's torture. You be with them for a moment of time, and then they're gone. And then you may or may not see them at Rick's. So yeah, I remember that. I tried to make a tradition on the last night to stay up all night and write poetry. That worked for the first 2 years. The third year, didn't finish the poetry. And then the fourth year, I couldn't stay up all night. Getting old. No longer a little kid anymore. And so, everything is gay. My uncle comes out as gay. Was married to a Barbie doll blonde, had 3 Barbie doll daughters. And then during the 80s, when all of this homophobic chanting of everything is gay, everything we do, everything we say, it's a gay. Not a sin, but it is a sin in the church to be gay. Pet Shop Boys, come on guys, prerequisites. And my uncle makes the dumbass excuse to why he wants to be gay and abandon his family. He said he was born that way, and that he knew that he was gay because he wanted to stay home with mommy to do woman's work at home, barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen. Rather than doing man's work on the farm, sweating and hard labor. God. Even I, as a teenager, knew that was wrong. My dad, however, as a homophobic guy as he is, freaked out and tried to threaten his brother with the church. You're going to burn in hell. You're going against the church. You've abandoned your family. This was before the family proclamation. Kimball had his version, so maybe Dad used that. And so there was nothing they could do to convince him to stick with his family. And so yeah, he left the church. I don't know, I think he may have put in a paper to remove his name from the records. But My parents then were freaked out. The church had done a combined Relief Society priesthood weekly alert meeting to be on the lookout for your kids being gay and to report them to the bishop for conversion therapy in the state of Utah. Outside of Utah, they couldn't do the conversion therapy part, but you can report them to your bishop. And so with my uncle and the church coming out looking for Mormons to round up and torture, I'm in my room one evening. My dad comes home from work and bursts in my door. They don't bother to knock. Teenage boy, they don't bother to knock. I can be having happy time. Get your hands off my bush. Transformers. Mom is awesome. But regardless, he comes bursting into my door, and he had purchased from the store that day the Farrah Fawcett poster of her in her swimsuit. She's too old for me, Dad. I'm a teenage boy, remember? Jennifer Connelly from Labyrinth. The Boy Who Could Fly woman. You know, those kinds of girls my age. Nope. He throws Farrah Fawcett in my face. Says, doesn't she look pretty? Don't you desire her? He was checking to find out if I was gay. And he went away unhappy, because she's not my type, Dad. Psychology was screwing people up on our sexual natures, just like the church has always been screwing us up on our sexual natures, sexually abusing us. Psychologists are sexual abusers, just like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are sexual abusers. They don't want to teach you the truth. They want to manipulate you, to hurt you. And so when I was peer pressured into going to the prom to demonstrate to the other teenage peers that I'm not gay, and all the Mormon girls, which were 2, were already spoken for by the other Mormon boys, who were 2, beside me. I was forced to look for a heathen girl. And so I had been sitting on the campus of Norco at a certain place with some of the guys that I shared a number of classes with. And next to us, I wonder if it still has the same thing or if they've done some remodeling. Let's go down memory lane. We'll see if we can put this in the thumbnail picture. Or not the thumbnail picture. I've already got the thumbnail picture in mind. Once we get to the Trump Eyes 2025 news. Popcorn popping on the apricot tree. It's a song to tell kids that they need to behave. need the camera to freeze so I can blow my nose. Where are they now? All right. Norco High School, California. Assuming it's not burned to the ground. Just tragic. Just tragic. Okay. Looks like it still is the same. There it is. There it is. So yeah, they've put the tree growth is massive in that area. But yeah, it's smack dab in the center. There's a dead tree to the building that appendages out into the middle. That's the where the cheer pep squad does their thing, is there on that grass, right smack in the middle of the high school. And so the roof is actually an outcropping from the actual building. And so we were there on the upper level, sitting on the wall, and then there's some benches right below the wall. And that's where Cynthia Pullard and her crew had their lunchtime. And so that's where I saw her. I love you. Marry me. Watch that one with Sandra Bullock while you were sleeping. And so, are those tables scattered all out? Is that what that is? It must be. All those little blue things. Weird. Okay, but anyway. So let's... Cougars. Yep. So, get the tennis courts, the baseball field. And that hill, oh my God. 2nd Street and Hillside. That's a steep hill. Dad gave me a stick to take to high school. Obviously, because he hates me. But yeah, I remember being all stressed on that hill, going, oh my God, I have to wait in the line of cars, and there are cars piling up behind me. Oh my God, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. So don't be confused, this is not BYU. Even though we had the same mascot. God, my dad threw away all my whatever they're called, yearbooks. I even had a centerfold in Auburn gel. Yeah, my white legs straddled across the page. Doing the high jump for track and field. It was 8th grade. I was in middle school. And so, yeah, that was my first nightmare of dating. I had no clue what to do. I'm the oldest son. Parents didn't teach me sex ed. Church won't teach sex ed. They say no touchy, no thinky, no feely. And telling me of stuff that I have no clue what they are. Necking and petting? What the hell is that? Fornication? What are these big words? I don't know what they are, and you won't tell me. You're just telling me not to do them. If I don't know what they are, how do I know if I'm doing them or not? And so, yeah, we go to the dance, and she's beautiful, of course, because all girls are beautiful. And she's a good kid. She wasn't the slutty whore like my crush, Heather Teska, was. Who brought a college boy who was raping a minor. But if you're gonna go to prison and be put on a sex offender registry list for raping a girl, it might as well be Heather. German perfection at its finest. Yeah, because now I got to talk about it because of the whole homophobic thing. Heather Teska was every Norco kid and Corona kid and colleges and fantasy. As even the yearbook had numerous photos of her. Knowing that everybody wanted her, I stayed away. I do not compete for the affections of a woman. If a woman's not interested in me, she's not interested in me. Why would I waste my time to just humiliate myself and put myself into depression to go to a psychologist who's going to dope me up on drugs for the support of Big Pharma? And so one day, all the kids are talking about how she's not at school because she had her wisdom teeth pulled. And so I find out where she lives, and I went and bought her a flower arrangement, a basket flower arrangement. And ding dong ditched her. But I did the stupid thing of signing the card. Humiliations galore. What was I thinking? I wasn't. I was a kid. And so I'm at school. I'm at my locker, which is just down the row from the building. It's that building down from where we had lunch. And a female voice comes from behind me on the left. "Thank you for the flowers, Travis." She knows my name. Oh my God. That's because she's in my brother's class. So she knows me through him. And I freeze and panic, turn around, and then I die. And she looks at me weird and then walks off. Oh my God. And then there was Laura Baker in Placentia. I just want to curl up and cry. Childhood was too traumatic for me. And don't get me going on Beth. I'm already needing to blow my nose. Don't want ocular cavities leaking either. Okay, and so, yeah, then I find out in 1990, Star Trek New Generations comes out, has the episode where Data creates him, but he doesn't assign it a sex. And so the psychologist and Data are walking with this it, newly created, which would then give rise to Picard. Awesome show, but nonetheless. In which the psychologist asked it what sex they are. And Data goes, oh no, I didn't assign a sex. And Data, oh my God, asked it. It's not a human. But nonetheless, they're treating it as if it is a human with equal rights. Ask what kind of sex they want to have. And they're all confused. Oh no, I don't know what I want to be. And the psychologist says, whatever you feel you want to be is your sexual identity. And when I saw that the other year, was it last year? I think it was last year. I was doing the whole Star Trek watching in chronological order. I just, oh my God. Tell me this isn't the cause. And it is. It is. Our school systems across this nation put psychologists in the school system, so that when kids go to the principal sends them directly to the psychologist instead. So growing up, it was the principal for me. And it was only the one time in Miller Elementary School in Michigan. We had gone into the neighbor's yard to get a ball that I had kicked out there. Playing kickball. I didn't design the court that way, or the field that way. Should have been in towards the school rather than towards the... God, unbelievable. Anyway. I had strong legs. And... and so with all these kids now going to the psychologist, they're now being told that they're LGBTQIAPO+. Psychologists are manipulating them. They have doctor-client confidentiality, but they have no Hippocratic oath to do no harm. So the parents cannot know what these abusers of children are abusing their children with. And the children then would go on to talk about how they feel like they are in lust with computers. Alexa. I love Alexa. I want to marry Alexa. And that was the childhood bullying tactic. Well, if you love it so much, I know why. If you love it so much, why don't you marry it? And here they are, psychologists are saying, yeah, well, you are that identity. You feel it. They're manipulating the kids to believe what the psychologist is telling them. And so they grow up believing this. And then you get computer systems, internet, and then social media in 2011. And now people are able to spread it around that they're these other identities, when it was just gay and lesbian forever. But evangelicals are behind this. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is behind this push. And psychologists are facilitating this to fuel the fire and the flames of the burning in the crotch. And so women have been abused in our nation because of the Christian movement that gets in the government, doesn't want women to have equal rights, doesn't want to have women equal pay, and women have been struggling to be treated equally. And so you get psychology tampering with the feminist movement to make it extremist, and thus justifying evangelicals in the church to call them evil, that they need to be trad wives. And so it's not until recently that finally women's soccer was able to get equal pay for their women, winning championships, to demonstrate that they need to be paid according to what they're worth. They're drawing in large audiences, they're winning championships. It's time to start paying them what they're worth. And they got it. It was a big accomplishment for women. And then, as with the Me Too movement, it was destroyed by evil people who want to make false accusations. And so you're now having trans men who claim that they're women, who suck in men's sports, who say, hey, I'm a woman. And they go into women's sports, and they fight to get equality to perform in women's sports. And you get the swimmer who breaks records in women's sports because he sucked in men's sports, couldn't break the record in men's sports. And then you got the basketball player who can't get on a team in men's sports, gets put right on to the WNBA and draws in a huge audience. Oh, well, see, it's profitable to have men in women's sports. And then you've got other sports where women get beat up, literally beat up, as part of the sport by men. Women getting beat up. My white supremacist Christian nationalist peers thought that that would be cool to beat up women. And here they got trans to be the ones to beat up on women now. And so those videos are going viral all over the internet. See how cool it is for men to beat up on women. And these men are now trying to push to get equal pay with men's sports for which they suck. But in a women's sport, breaking all sorts of records, winning championships. Women are being kicked out of women's sports to be replaced by trans. And women are conflicted because they don't want to treat trans unequally because psychologists are bullying them. They are human too. They deserve equal rights. How dare you attack them and shame them and try to take away their equal rights? Women, Women are again being shamed and humiliated and degraded and guilt-tripped and shamed. To again be suppressed, depressed, oppressed, and all of those prests. And it was disgusting. And I warned you guys that the Nazis did the same thing to gays. They labeled them. They allowed them to identify themselves as gay with a little sign of the inverted triangle. And then when Nazi Germany took over power, hey, we've already got a blacklist made. Rounded them all up for human experimentation by psychologists. Not just Jews. And so I warned you guys. Being given legal rights to be identified with this psychological manipulation when you already have equal rights in the 14th Amendment, Section 1, it's going to be used against you when Hitler takes over America. People are getting their birth certificates changed to identify them as trans. Driver's licenses changed to be identified as trans, not just marriage certificates. They've got the blacklist now. You gave them your identity on a blacklist. And I warned you, you didn't believe, you think I'm being mean and homophobic, when you already had your rights. You needed to stand up and put the Constitution as your excuse. And you didn't. You created new laws to violate the Constitution. And so, Trump yesterday, as he told us he was going to do, signed the executive order. Men are now out of women's sports, when previously he had already designated that men are men and women are women. There is no other sex identity. And this is the false dichotomy argument that psychologists put on you guys, is that they will target one of the groups for one issue as wrong. Then the other group then justifies them being right for the whole over just the one issue. And it, numerous issues on both sides. And so each group has correct stuff mingled with the wrong stuff, so that they bash each other over what's wrong and ignore what's right in the other. But it's extremist for what they want to do with what's right, and thus making it wrong. It is an evil trap by psychologists. And so, the next phase in Trump's plan just got carried out. Because now, as he removes DEI from government, removes men from women's sports, designates only male and female sexes, those who continue to insist that they are the psychological identification of sexual abuse, Trump will do what Nazi Germany did to gays. And you'll be rounded up, tortured with conversion therapy under psychologists. Church didn't stop it until 2021 when they were forced to. And then they demanded that it be brought back. And so if the church wins and gets their kingdom here in Utah, yeah. If you are a Mormon paying your tithing, they can't kick you out of Zion, but you identify wrong. And so they'll put you into a conversion therapy. Those of you who are LGBTQIAPO+, XMO-LEX, hint, hint, you, the church will boot you out. You will not be allowed to live in Utah. I went over that with you. It's right there in section 119. You never bothered to read it, did you? You only know that tithing is abusive, but you don't know how abusive because you never read it. They're going to kick us out if we're not paying tithing. Utah is Nelson Zion. He's told us this. You need to listen to him. Can't go on vacation during conference. And so Trump is Jesus. Did the video yesterday. Nobody wants to believe. Trump is doing what Christians want Jesus to do, to fulfill their interpretation of the Jewish scriptures about the Jewish Christ. They're self-fulfilling it, making it happen. And the church are the masters over all of this. They're the deep state Gadianton band, giving the orders for people to murder, to steal, to plunder, to have this false dichotomy pitted against each other to cause the chaos and the wars and the contentions and the overthrowing of the Constitution, so that the church gets their kingdom back with the destruction of America. And so that's what's coming next. Trump will do away with marriages. That will be banned. Trump will do away with the identities on birth certificates and driver's licenses. It's coming. But he's doing a whole bunch of other stuff. So, it's sad that Mormons don't understand that Nelson uses Trump as Jesus. That Mormons are still waiting for Jesus to come. That they're conflicted. Wait a minute, Trump is attacking us. But Trump is supposed to be on our side. But Jesus is, well, I don't understand. Mormons are being abused for what Brigham Young did to Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. I tried to warn you. You didn't want to believe. You wanted to accuse me instead and get angry with me. Put a thumbs down, hate comments, death threats, stupid questions. And yet, here I've been the whole time. The Jewish Christ. The one person that this enemy, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, never believed would be true. And here I am. But because everybody's waiting for Jesus, they look beyond the mark when their Christ is right here in front of them, looking them in the eye through a digital screen, and they reject me. They gotcha. The church is winning. And you don't get it. The danger that you are in. And so, the church demands in the Temple Covenant path of the law of sacrifice that we sacrifice our life to protect the church from criminal prosecution. And so this is why nobody can sue the church in the state of Utah, because the judges are compromised to the church if they're not Mormon. If they're Mormon, yeah, they have to pay the church tithing money. They're compromised. Everybody is compromised in this valley, in this state. And I told you, the FBI are not doing their job. When you give them tips on the church and her crimes, they refuse to do their job. They're protecting the church. Police Chief Brown of Salt Lake City, I gave him the tip. I gave him the documents. He's refusing to do his job. Governor Cox is protecting the church, trying to keep this a sanctuary state. And because of this, they are now all finding out that the devil never supports his own. I gave you the example of my brother from 2023 when I just barely moved in here. My brother attacks, was ordered by the Strengthening Church Members Committee, by orders of the Gadianton band of the 1% at the top. Can't call it a corporate board because they're not a corporation. It's illegal because they're not a church. They're a fraud. And so my brother was told, file a lawsuit against your brother to silence him on YouTube. He's destroying the church, destroying members' faith with truth. And my brother obeyed. My brother's stupid, even though he was valedictorian at Norco High, at BYU, because he memorizes. School is nothing but memorization. It doesn't teach kids to be smart. And so, because he's working for the church, because that's the only job that he can get, despite a PhD, valedictorian, he is threatened to destroy my life and silence me. And my brother, instead of going, that would be a crime. I'm not going to commit crimes. Book of Mormon tells me not to be a criminal. Nope, he obeys. He pays $2,000 retainer for a legal firm, and the lawyer, compromised by the church, likewise, does not get it. What my brother was telling her. And I get an email saying I need to conform and comply or I will be sued. Putting all my brother's statements that the church had threatened him, that he was going to lose his job, that his reputation would be ruined. And I responded with a whole bunch of other stuff because she insisted on I calling him doctor. He's a fraud. He got his doctorate by pulling the religion card because they said, what the hell? You're a valedictorian at BYU and you come to us with this crap for your thesis? He cries to mommy, Mommy! And then mommy says, pull the religion card. Religious freedom. That's why psychologists are telling evangelicals to get into the science fields to destroy science. That's why the church does it at the BYUs here in Utah. It's all being corrupted with psychology. And so there is no real science education. So thus when BYU graduates go to a real school, the real school says, what the hell? Who taught you this crap? But anyway, and so the lawyer had to back off. But they never pursued suing the church for the threats that they made to my brother. My brother is now out $2,000 retainer. He got punished for his failure. He wouldn't have gotten any money from me anyway. There's no money to be had. The church ruined me. They took everything from me, but like Hugh Grant's plot to the sister missionaries, heretic, I didn't conform and comply. See, I would have behaved completely different to Hugh Grant. And thus ruin the show. But nonetheless, this is what the church does to everybody. This is why I get cyber terrorized. Because the church came to them and said, do this to Travis. Anything else that happens, why I'm here rather than West Valley still, is because the church ordered them to do it to me. To attack me, to destroy my life, to silence me, to murder me, anything to shut me up. They know who I am, and it scares them. They never believed Joseph Smith. They never believed the Jews. And here I am. And they're scared. And they're humiliated over and over by me. And Mormons still don't get it. And so Cox, likewise, church ordered him to protect the church and their sanctuary state. And so Cox ordered the ICE guy to back off. Don't do his job. And so the ICE guy leaked a memo, or had a memo, in which he said he was told that he can't do anything, that Utah is a sanctuary state. And Governor Cox panicked and wanted him fired to cover it up. And so other governors, likewise, are actual sanctuary states with sanctuary cities. And now Trump and his minions are threatening those governors to be locked up for defying Trump's orders. And so still, Governor Cox doesn't see what's coming. He's going to protect the church right down to his final being locked up in a concentration camp, which is coming, you know. They've opened up Guantanamo, but ICE facilities are being overflown. And instead of creating a concentration camp, they're letting people go. Trump's not going to be happy when he finds out about this. They will start creating concentration camps to house these people that are being rounded up. Just watch, pay attention. Also yesterday, which had been going on previously when Trump gave the order to have all those who were investigating January 6 cases to likewise be investigated themselves. And thus with the purging of the government as well. And their FBI and CIA agents are suing to try to get this backed off, but it's going to go nowhere. People don't understand SCOTUS gave Trump the get out of jail free card and do whatever you want as president card. He cannot commit a crime now. And the deep state Dems are not getting this. The deep state Dem government, deep state Dem press, and thus Democrats are not getting it. Trump is able to do whatever he wants. If he wants Gaza, he's going to get it. Who's going to stop him? SCOTUS? The lawyers for Trump are just going to argue. You signed this ruling allowing Trump to do whatever he wants as president, because that's his presidential duties. Oh, right, okay. Case dismissed. Nobody sees it. But the Utah FBI are also a part of this, because Mormons were a part of January 6th. I had submitted warnings to my federal government here in Utah through the court filings in 2020 about what was going to happen coup of the government. And I had one of my charges as that Insurrection Act. And because it was a RICO case, it had to be sent to Attorney General Barr. And I learned that that final weekend, when he had it, he then went and told other prosecutors in a meeting, I found this new law, the Insurrection Act. That was my case that he was talking about, that he was needing to decide on. He chose no. So Pharaoh said, I will not let Mormons go. And said to use that on Black Lives Matter protesters instead. They didn't. Then they went and used it on January 6th people, but not for the government leaders, not for Trump. They let them go. And thus other rights were destroyed because they let them go. But nonetheless, FBI was investigating and locking people up, and then prosecutors of the DOJ were prosecuting and getting convictions for those on January 6th, whom Trump pardoned. And so now, retroactively, Trump is going after them. The FBI in Utah did not want to listen to my warnings, and then used my filing against the church on those for January 6th. And now Trump is coming back to bite him, and the church is keeping their distance. We had nothing to do with this. This is done. When it was the church that were the puppet masters, Oaks got leaked, confessing. I was doing my lawsuit, warning, the church is behind this. And I didn't know about Sister Jessica and Oaks' leak yet. Wouldn't find out until last year. But I knew. I had done the research. This is just an awful situation, guys, and you're not catching on. So it's stupid that the deep state Dems are reacting when they were told by Trump what he was going to do. They knew Project 2025. They reported on it. They knew Agenda 47. They reported on it. They covered all of Trump's speeches and rallies and news coverages and interviews. They knew what was coming. They knew what Trump would do. I warned my government and everybody about the dangers and the national security threat of AI. And they did nothing. Nobody is standing up for America to protect it. They're all letting it fall. Using the psychological false dichotomy contention. Utterly tragic. So, you had to be proactive. Everybody knew the crimes that were being talked about. Nobody was proactive who were in a position to do something about it. They failed to do their job under Biden. And so now everybody's reacting, because that's the cool thing to do on videos on social media. It's reaction videos, shock videos. All I have to do is do a video on a quote by one of the leaders of the corporation, criminal operation. That's shock enough. You can't trust the motivation of a person who's practicing priestcraft. Oaks. I told you I was waiting for you to become president. I warned you that I've got the dirt on you from what you yourself say. So Nelson, he's just stupid. He's just purposely being illiterate of scriptures and failing to translate. But Oaks, oh no. He comes right out and says the stupid stuff that exposes this church. He's gonna be lots of fun in the coming day, right? In the coming day, right? Right? No? Okay, whatever. So, USPS, sorry, Postal Service, stopped mail from China briefly, and apparently I saw one news article in which they were resuming processing the mail from China. I guess there was some sort of reprieve for the moment. And so we can't purchase anything from China, especially here in Utah that has Hong Kong as its biggest trade partner. News is covering that Utahns are going to have trouble with China stuff, as we typically have been. And so, yep, you didn't listen to your Christ, and so you're waiting for Jesus to save you, and it ain't going to happen because Trump is Jesus in their eyes. Don't believe that Trump is Jesus, and you don't believe that I am the Jewish Christ. So, yep. ICE in Utah, being handcuffed by Cox, are trying to put on a show for Cox. Cox wants to show that he's not keeping in Utah a sanctuary state. And so individual persons are being isolated by ICE in Utah. They're not doing the raids in Utah. And so the news in Utah are talking about the reactions of people over the ICE agent with one individual. We have over 600,000 of whom Trump said have to go. And ICE finally, after all these weeks, finally are being told to go after an individual to protect the church. This is not going to go over well. We have white supremacists who know that there are illegals, criminals in Utah. It's not going to end well. There are consequences. Cox is going to have to face the consequences of protecting the church. The FBI are facing the consequences now of protecting the church. My brother faced the consequences for protecting the church. You can't skip the consequences of your actions. Did you never read your Book of Mormon? And so, yeah, the CIA, as I said, they're also being told to leave. He's gutting everything. And this, they're now warning, will lead to a 9/11 event. I warned you. You didn't believe. Okay? And so, with Trump declaring Gaza as the 52nd state, 52nd? Well, what's the 51st? Seriously? You forgot about Canada already. And the news is doing reaction videos of Palestinians. No, duh, they don't want it. Oh my God. That's a useless argument, news. And And again, this goes to October 7th and the abomination that the news got exposed for. Because the news coverage of Ukraine, right on target. They know who the bad guy is, Putin, and know who the victims are, Ukraine. But when it came to October 7th, all of a sudden Israel's the bad guy? Oh my hell. Yeah, they played this like a fiddle. And sure enough, this false dichotomy contention with Islam and Israel resulted now in Trump being Jesus, restoring the land for Israel. And then, like I said yesterday, they'll destroy the Dome of the Rock so that the Jews can then build their temple. Trump is now Jesus for the Jews. Cyrus, King Cyrus, Persia. Know your scriptures. Prerequisite for my videos. Atheists are just going to be confused. And so yes, Trump will then justify when Palestine and Islam attack America in Gaza to say, all right, all of you Islamists in America, you're out. You're going to prison as terrorists. Gotcha! You thought you would be a sleeper cell in America, and Trump pulled a fast one on you, just like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints had him do. Remember, you're sanctuaried here in Utah too, to work for the church and wear your hijab at the distribution center. A symbol of your religious sexual abuse. Just like the Mormons who wear the symbol of their religious sexual abuse, but they hide it because they don't want people to know about it. And then Hugh Grant asked the sister missionaries about it. Got pantsed. It's sad. And so, everybody's complaining that Musk is committing illegal actions, and they're not getting it. SCOTUS gave Trump the free pass, and Trump stood up for Musk. I ordered him to do what he's doing. He doesn't do anything unless I tell him to do it. Sorry, news, deep state Dems. You knew what you needed to do proactively. You didn't do it. And now you're refusing to accept the consequences of your spineless behavior. So, the Sharpie Gate guy is now in charge of the weather. This ought to go well. Look out, Georgia, here it comes. Sharpie said so. Trump with the nukes to the rescue. And then Musk is in charge of Social Security and Medicaid, and he's going to destroy it. And so now all of the elderly and those who are on government benefits are now going to lose it, and then they aren't going to be able to get a job, and nobody's going to help them unless the states do it. But the states are not being proactive in advance. They're going to be reactive. And this is going to cause a problem, because what they're doing with this is stopping all federal programs across America, just as 3rd Nephi chapter 7 said they're going to do. Nobody wants to believe that the Book of Mormon is true. And so this is going to force the individual states to come up with their own government benefit program for the poor, the needy, the sick, and the afflicted, and the elderly, and such. And Utah doesn't want to do that. They fight and argue over it anyway, because we're an alt-right state. And so this is going to play right into the hands of the church, because we already have the scandal that I've put the clips in for you, that those who want aid in Utah are told to go to the church to not get government funding. And so that's why the church is a sanctuary state, because you've got all these illegal undocumenteds and those who are refugees as sleeper cells who are being told to go to the church to get aid. And the church says, well, you got to be a member, got to get baptized. And then because they're destitute and desperate, they have no choice. They've lost everything. And so now the church controls them, just like Hugh Grant. And so the church exploits them, takes tithing out of their paychecks, and the church is using this as a slave operation here in the state of Utah as their sanctuary state. The church does not give aid. And so this is what the church is going to do. When the federal government is destroyed, Nelson gets the kingdom back. Those who were on government benefits, who are no longer on them, they'll say, yes, we'll help you out, but you got to become a member and pay tithing. Remember, section 119, if you don't pay tithing, you're out. And so if you want to pay tithing, fine. But if you're undesirable, being a Mormon, they're going to have to punish you. So if you're an LGBTQIAPL+, you got to go to conversion therapy until you learn that you're not LGBTQIAPL+. And if you're poor, yeah, well, they'll put you to work as a slave. And they'll take the tithing directly from your paycheck. If you're elderly, dear God, I hate to think of what they're going to do to you guys. It's just going to be awful. The inhumanity, the depravity of man is going to be coming out in full view. You will know the true nature of man. And so, yeah, concentration camps. Mormons are immigrating to Alberta. And because of Trump's deal with Canada, they're being denied entrance into Alberta now. Alberta is a Mormon state, in case you didn't know. So yeah, the border deal that Trump made to have Canada not be subjected to tariffs until a month later, yeah, that was part of the deal. No more immigrations from Mormons in Utah and Idaho. So Idaho chick got caught at the border. And, you know, Islam is threatening war if Trump occupies Gaza. It's already being set up. I already see what's coming. And then that'll justify Trump in kicking out Islam from America. Utah passed a bill to ban pride parades. They're calling it adult-oriented performances, because they think that gay pride parades and story time hour with queens are adult-oriented, because their sexual identity as gay or trans is in the public realm. You need to cover it up and hide your nakedness. Lucifer's plan of happiness. And so that's what they're calling it. They're just renaming pornography. But they're back again with pornography, this time attacking gay pride parades, and they'll use that to ban pride flags. You won't be able to show the pride flag because that's a sexually oriented symbol. It's coming. You were set up to be entrapped. It's coming. So, birthright citizenship is going to SCOTUS. Oops. They've already thrown the rest of the 14th Amendment. It's overthrown. What makes you think that SCOTUS finally is going to allow birthright citizenship still? The first one about those who are born, that's been overthrown. What makes you think that the next one, those who are naturalized, is likewise not going to be overthrown? Seriously? You're that stupid, are you? And I talked about the thumbs downer. And these are the pictures. So yeah, consequences for protecting the church. Devil never supports his own. Okay, we're done. That took way too long. Hilarity ensued. Let's make sure I got all of this stuff. Yeah, Wikipedia is now behind. They're not able to keep up with Trump. There's a thumbnail